Jason, a seasoned urban photographer, had spent years documenting forgotten places, rusted factories, derelict mansions, and crumbling theaters. This weekend, he had set his sights on the grand old Maplewood Hotel, an abandoned relic tucked away in the woods. Rumors surrounded the place, strange deaths, sudden closures, and whispers of hauntings. Jason dismissed them as small-town myths. The decaying beauty of the building was all he cared about. The hotel's facade loomed large as he approached, its windows dark and empty like hollow eyes. He pushed open the heavy front door, its creak echoing through the vast, silent lobby. Dust covered the elegant chandeliers, and ivy crept through broken windows. It was perfect. He set up his gear, snapping shots of the once luxurious reception desk, a grand staircase draped in cobwebs, and the faded red carpet leading to the upper floors. As the sun began to set, the air grew colder, and the shadows deepened. Jason found himself glancing over his shoulder more often than usual. By nightfall, he had chosen a room on the third floor to rest. It was small, but intact, with peeling wallpaper and a warped wooden bed frame. He set up his sleeping bag and lantern before returning to his camera. The corridors outside his room stretched endlessly, their silence oppressive. As he adjusted his tripod in the hallway, a sound made him freeze. The distinct creak of footsteps on the floor above. He held his breath, straining to listen. The footsteps stopped abruptly, leaving an unsettling silence in their wake. Jason shook his head, convincing himself it was the building settling or an animal scurrying above. But as the night wore on, the disturbances grew. Doors that had been firmly shut earlier now stood ajar, their hinges swaying gently as if recently moved. A faint melody drifted through the air, the unmistakable notes of a piano. It seemed to come from the grand ballroom on the ground floor. Jason's curiosity overpowered his fear, and he decided to investigate. The ballroom was just as he had left it during the day, empty and eerily quiet. The piano, a dusty grand piece in the corner, stood untouched. As he stepped closer, a sudden gust of wind slammed the door shut behind him. His lantern flickered, casting dancing shadows across the room. Jason's heartbeat quickened as he spun around, but no one was there. Returning to his room, Jason resolved to stay awake for the rest of the night. He reviewed his photos, hoping to distract himself. But as he scrolled through the shots on his camera, he noticed something chilling. In several images of the grand staircase and upper halls, a faint figure stood in the background. A woman in a long, flowing dress, her face obscured by shadows. His hands trembled as he zoomed in on the photos, confirming what he hoped was a trick of the light. Just then, the doorknob to his room rattled. Jason grabbed his lantern and stood frozen as the door creaked open, revealing the dark hallway. There was no one there, but the faint sound of breathing lingered in the air. Determined to leave, Jason packed his gear hastily. But as he stepped into the hallway, the air grew dense, and an overpowering chill enveloped him. The building seemed to groan, its walls closing in. He raced down the staircase, but the ground floor didn't look the same. The lobby stretched impossibly long, with doors appearing where there had been none. "You shouldn't have come here," a voice whispered. It was soft, almost tender, but it sent shivers down his spine. Jason spun around, his lantern illuminating empty space. The whispers grew louder, echoing from every direction. Desperate, Jason pushed through one of the new doors, finding himself in a dimly lit dining hall. The tables were set as if for a grand banquet, but the chairs were occupied by shadowy figures. Their faces were blurred, their forms flickering like a faulty projection. At the head of the table sat the woman from his photos. Her hollow eyes locked onto him, and her lips curled into a chilling smile. Jason stumbled back, slamming the door shut. He sprinted through the labyrinthine hallways, the whispers now a cacophony. He tried to find the exit, but the hotel seemed to shift around him, leading him in circles. Finally, he burst into the main lobby where the front door stood wide open. As he ran outside, the cold night air hit his face. He didn't stop until he reached his car, throwing his gear inside and speeding away. In his rearview mirror, the hotel loomed in the distance, its windows glowing faintly. Just as it disappeared from view, a soft whisper filled the car. "You'll be back." Jason never returned to the Maplewood Hotel, but his photos became infamous. In every image, the shadowy figures became clearer over time, as if they were drawing closer. And in the final shot of the grand staircase, the woman stood in full detail, her hollow eyes staring straight at the lens, waiting.